At a family breakfast, Shashi was seen preparing breakfast for her husband named Satish and two children named Sapna and Savar. Shashi also lived with his mother-in-law. At that time, Shashi was ridiculed by Sapna and her husband because she mispronounces a word in English because she was not good in English. Shashi wasn't appreciated by her children and her husband. Only Savar cared about her and always defended her. Shashi was also laddu and was very skilled at making it. Her customers really liked her laddu. Shashi used public transportation to deliver her laddu to her customer every day because her husband refused to take her. Even when she asked her husband to take her, the husband instead told her to stop making laddu. She also said that making laddu is her passion. One time, Shashi called her husband to tell him that her laddu was sold out, but instead of supporting her husband, he didn't care about it. When Shashi returned home, Sagar told her that Sapna was hanging with her friend wearing a miniskirt, and as soon as Sapna returned, she immediately asked where she was. But instead of answering her mother, Sapna grumbled at her. The next day, Sapna screamed while she was having a phone call. Shashi found out that Sapna received a call from her father saying that he could not attend the parenting event at school and picked up Sapna's report card. He then asked Shashi to attend the event. Of course, Sapna refused because she didn't believe in her mother, especially when her mother couldn't speak English. Sapna planned to write a letter saying that she was sick and her father was out of town, but this was prevented by Shashi because she was sure that she would be able to deal with it. Then at school, Sapna felt uncomfortable because she was worried that her mother would embarrass her since she couldn't speak English while her school is an international school. Sapna panicked when one of her friend's parents greeted Shashi in English. Sapna tried to answer everything that was asked by her friend's parents so that they wouldn't find out that her mother couldn't speak English. She looked for excuses so she could stop the conversation. During a meeting, Shashi met the homeroom teacher named Father Vincent. At first, Father Vincent spoke in English, but Shashi told him to use Hindi because she was not proficient in English. He didn't mind and they had a long chat casually, but not with Sapna, who felt embarrassed by her mother. After the event, Sapna was sullen and sulking at her mother because she couldn't speak English and was disappointed with her mother's attitude, which had embarrassed her. Seeing her daughter's attitude made Shashi sad because she felt she was not appreciated by her own child. Later that day, Satish added a call from Manu, Shashi's older sister who lived in New York, informing them that she would soon marry her oldest daughter named Mira with her boyfriend. Therefore, she asked Sachi to come to America a month before the ceremony to help with the preparations, considering Shashi was the only sibling Manu had. Hearing that, Shashi accepted to come, but Satish said that only Shashi alone would come to New York while he and her children would come later. She initially refused that plan because she had never been abroad. Moreover, she was not proficient in English. Shashi tried to persuade her husband, but he remained firm and asked Shashi to leave alone. Finally, agreed to leave first. Day after day, Shashi prepared for her flight to America, such as taking care of her visa, passports, and clothes she would bring. A few days later, Shashi left for New York. Her husband took her to the airport. As soon as they arrived, Satish tried to speak with Shashi in English, but she still had difficulties to respond. Later on the plane, Shashi called her husband to tell him that she was already on the plane and told him about the confusing boarding pass process. Suddenly, his flight attendant approached her and told her to turn off her phone in English, but because she didn't understand English, she instead gave her phone to the flight attendant. Shashi sat beside a very kind old man. He guided Shashi on how to call the flight attendant in English. He also translated the film they were watching on video audio on demand for entertainment. When they arrived in America, the man told Shashi to be confident and believe in herself. When the man found out that it was Shashi's first time in Shashi in New York, he told her that the first experience is special and would only come once, so she had to cherish it. When asked by the immigration staff what the purpose of coming to America was, Shashi couldn't explain clearly that she was going to attend her niece's wedding. The immigration officer was confused at first, but after Shashi handed in the paperwork, the officer understood Shashi's intention to visit New York. After exiting the airport, she was immediately welcomed by Manu and her daughter, Radha. At home, Manu was very happy about Shashi's arrival because she was the only family she had. Manu said that she was lonely after her husband died because he was the best support system she had before. Upon hearing that, Shashi felt sad because she was never noticed by her husband. After that, Radha invited Shashi to go to Manhattan and visit the shopping center. Shashi was able to forget her sadness and problem for a moment. The next day, Manu left Shashi for work while Radha was going to campus, but she didn't have the heart to leave Shashi alone at home, so she invited Shashi to come with her. While waiting for Radha, Shashi went to Washington Square Park. There she saw someone eating bread, which made Shashi hungry. She decided to find something to eat and went to a coffee shop. She was confused with the people's behavior there. Thankfully, there was a kind that led her ahead of the queue, but unfortunately, The service at that place was not friendly, especially because Shashi was not fluent in English. She panicked and made a scene there. Couldn't control herself, so she decided to leave from there while crying. When Shashi was sitting in the park, the kind man from before, Lauren, approached her and brought the coffee that she ordered but forgot to take. Lauren also said that the service at that place was not friendly. After that, the two got acquainted and Lauren left. Shashi was seen sad when suddenly Radha showed up and called her. At that moment, a bus stopped near them. On the bus, there was an ad about a 4-week English rapid course. Radha explained the advertisement and Shashi was seen memorizing the telephone number of the course. At home, Shashi tried to contact the course whose ad she saw earlier. She was happy after the staff received her call. The staff then explained about the course. However, because Shashi wasn't finished in English, she asked for the explanation to be repeated slowly. After getting an explanation, including the costs Shashi had to pay, she was silent while counting the money. Knowing that she had enough to enroll in the course, she went there to register all by herself. After taking care of the administration and entering the class, Shashi was taught by David as the teacher. There, she also met other students from various countries, and it turned out Lauren was also in the class. The students were allowed to introduce themselves, including Lauren, who came from France, and finally, it was Shashi's turn to introduce herself. He introduced herself by saying that she was from India and that she sold snacks. David praised her while saying that she was an entrepreneur. Shashi said that word repeatedly, even after she came home. It seemed that Shashi was very happy because this was the first time his work was being appreciated, considering that she was never appreciated by anyone before. On the other hand, Lauren kept looking at her. It seemed that he liked her at first sight. Since then, Shashi became very passionate about learning English and became one of the best students in her class, but she never told Manu about it. Shashi just told Radha, and Radha was very supportive of Shashi's efforts to learn English. Shashi was not ashamed to ask Radha if she struggled with her course, while Radha didn't mind it. One time, Shashi took Radha to meet her friends from the course. They got to know each other and went to the cinema together. After that, Shashi got a call from Sapna, who was angry at her because she couldn't find her book. Shashi asked her to search for it inside the closet, and she finally found it, but instead of thanking her, Sapna grumbled at her and made her disappointed for not being unappreciated by her own child. She grumbled in Hindi even though Lauren was beside her. They then stopped at a cafe where she unconsciously ordered food from waiters using fluent English. Of course, Lauren praised her, and that made her enthusiastic to continue her study. One day, David told his students to talk in front of the class about their hopes, feelings, or motivation in English. All students took turns to convey their thoughts, and nobody expected when Lauren said that he really liked Shashi. He also admired Shashi's beauty and that she was his motivation to study there. Hearing this, Shashi was shocked, and right after class, she immediately left. Lauren, who felt guilty, immediately chased after her into the train. After that, Lauren apologized to Shashi. Shashi forgave him and said that she was not mad at him, but rather surprised by his words. Day after day, Shashi continued to take courses. One day at the end of the meeting, David said that if the final exams were to be held on the 28th of that month, Shashi realized that the date was the same as his niece's wedding. This made Shashi confused and then conveyed his confusion to Lauren while taking the elevator. She was confused about whether to choose the exam or attend his niece's wedding, but without realizing it, the elevator they were taking continued to go up to the top of the building. It turned out that Lauren wanted to show her the beauty of New York City from the top of the building. Shashi was happy because it was her first time to see the beauty of New York City from above. Shashi was able to forget his sadness all this time for a moment. While looking at the view, Shashi slipped and almost fell, but luckily Lauren caught her. At that moment, Shashi realized that Lauren liked her, but she also already had a husband, which made her uncomfortable. She immediately left from there and went home. At home, Shashi was surprised because her children had arrived in America. They were all happy because they could meet. The next day, they all went to enjoy the atmosphere of New York City, but Shashi was confused because it was the time to take the course. She made an excuse to be able to take the course without anyone finding out. Shashi then said that his leg was hurting. Finally, her children and husband left her alone while she went to class. After taking the class, Lauren approached Shashi and gave the French food he brought for her. On that occasion, Shashi asked Lauren to stay away from her because she already had a husband and 2 children. Lauren was heartbroken, but he still tried to be kind to Shashi. Shashi returned to where her husband and children sat before, but she couldn't find them. She panicked and immediately called Radha, who told her that they had returned because Sagar had an accident. Hearing that, Shashi immediately came home. When she got home, Satish immediately scolded her because she was nowhere to find when he returned. She felt very guilty because she had neglected her duties as a mother and was more concerned with the class she was enrolled in. After that, Shashi decided not to continue the course. Radha tried to encourage her, but she had made up her mind. Radha then visited Shashi's course to convey Shashi's condition to David and his friends. At that moment, Lauren asked for Shashi's number to Radha. Meanwhile, at Manu's house, Shashi was making laddu. Mira and Kevin praised the laddu Shashi made, but her husband, instead of being proud of her, belittled her by saying that she was born to make laddu using English. Little did he know that Shasha understood what he was saying, but she chose to just smile. The next day, Radha encouraged Shashi by saying that she wasn't born to make laddu. Not only that, Lauren also called her so that she could keep up with the class even though she wasn't present. After class, Shashi's friends encouraged her to take the exam since the exam would only take an hour and it wouldn't interfere with the wedding. But Shashi still refused to come. Radha tried to convince Shashi to take the exam until finally, Shashi decided to take the exam. She studied for a presentation for 5 minutes in the restroom. The next day, she found out that Satish gave Shashi a new sari. When she walked down the stairs, Shashi listened to Sapna, who was humiliating her in front of her new friends, but she didn't bother with that and chose to focus on the exam she was going to take. She also made laddu earlier so that she could go to the exam, but unfortunately, when she was bringing laddu to the party, Segar surprised her, making all the laddu she made fell to the ground. Shashi then said that she was going to make laddu again and give up on taking the exam. Not only that, she also forbade her husband, who was about to scold Segar. During the wedding ceremony, Shashi was shocked to find David and all her friends came to the party. It turned out that Radha invited them. Shashi was asked to give a greeting at the party. Of course, Sapna and Satish panicked because they knew that Shashi could not speak English, but Shashi asked them to let her do it.
Nobody can help you better than you.
Nobody expected that Shashi could give a fluent speech accompanied by beautiful words for the bride and groom. Everyone was surprised to find out that Shashi could speak English very well. Satish and Sapna felt very guilty because all this time they had underestimated Shashi. Even David was so proud of her and gave her a perfect score. The party continued with a feast. On that occasion, Shashi thanked Lauren for encouraging and helping her in learning English. After that, she returned to her husband.